Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son sit down and talk about things inside of fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Thanks again for being with us here today. We've got some great stuff to talk about today, as always, as my son and I geek out over some good fantasy fiction.
Definitely.
Today, of course, Wheel of Time, The Shadow Rising, the next two chapters. But before we do that, how are you doing today, son?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been an interesting last couple of days as I got snow, which was weird. I thought I moved south to get away from it. Apparently not. But it's been a nice couple of days relaxing. Didn't have to go into work because people were like, hey, let's be safe on the roads. So I've been chilling for a couple of days and not too cold because my heater does work. How are you, Dad?
I am laughing at you, is how I am. We have a family chat, text messaging, that my daughter, my wife, Zach, and I all communicate on. And so he posts this week, we've got snow. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, like the city shut down. I don't have to go into work. Okay, we want pictures.
Well, it wasn't that bad. But
there was a dusting. There wasn't even snow on the road. It was, you could see a little on the grass, And then our daughter, who lives in a different climate, posts, yeah, it's 4 degrees, wind chill of -5.
Yeah.
She didn't have a lot of empathy for you, really.
No, but I just like to think of it as, could I handle worse? Absolutely. Am I taking advantage of when people panic and I don't have to worry about driving out on the road? Yeah, I don't trust people who don't know how to drive in snow. I know. They don't. And as evident, gas stations are like out of gas because everyone just panic bought gas.
Even when they should have just been staying home.
Yeah,
not driving
it's been
anywhere.
fine, but like I was at HEB the other day, and the weirdest thing, they were completely out of Cheez-Its. Like, their section in the aisle of Cheez-Its was just barren and empty. I don't know if that's the new toilet paper.
It's an apocalyptic staple. Everybody needs their Cheez-Its.
Especially that, like, white cheddar Cheez-Its. Those are good.
Oh, so you were one of the ones.
I didn't
one of
get
the ones
any.
Grabbing.
I didn't get any, but I looked and was like, that'd be a good snack. There weren't any.
All right. Other than making fun of you, I had a fine week. It was all good. Did some traveling for work. Made it home safely. Ready to do some podcasting with you. Or YouTubing, I guess we should call it too now.
All of the above.
Yes. Did you come prepared with a beverage today, Zach?
I mean, yeah. It's not fancy or anything, but a nice little rum and coke. Get me going.
Okay. All right. Well, I made a wattail today, except
I'm excited.
it's a wattail in that it's themed for this particular episode, but I haven't come up with a good name yet that's really Wheel of Time named.
I'm confused how it's themed for the episode, but you don't have a name pertaining to the episode.
Well, this episode we're calling All Out of Love.
Mm-hmm.
And love plays a role in this particular episode, so I came up with a love potion for today. But I need a better name that connects with the Wheel of Time.
You can't call it a love potion?
But love potion. I mean, lots of things have love potions. Lots of people want a love potion or need a love potion. I mean, even Harry Dresden has love potions in the Dresden Files. I mean, they're everywhere. I need something specific to go with this. So Discord, those of you with us today, hey, come up with a name, throw it in there. Maybe I will be able to rebrand it before we post it to Instagram on what this really is.
I
But
see.
what
We're
it really
shilling out to
is.
those who are more creative than us to
Oh,
give us a
yes, yes.
name.
Please help us out.
Please let us benefit from your talent and ideas. Give us a name for this drink, please.
What's in it, by the way, and it's a very pretty drink there. And if I hold it the right way, I can still be, Wheel of Time themed because there's the etching.
Hmm.
It's got coconut rum. It's got some regular rum. It has cranberry juice, pineapple juice, but there's another booze. What did I put? Oh, peach schnapps. That's what
Ah,
it is. So the coconut and the peach go together nicely. It's tasty.
sounds fun.
Yeah. It should be fun to drink. It is fruity, and it will fill this episode well.
All right, what do we have left before we can get into some actual Wheel of Time content?
Just to remind people, if you're watching this, you like it, actually like it, click that thumbs up, like it on YouTube, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out here. Respond, put some replies in, any questions or things you want to give us feedback on. We love to see those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening to this in an audio format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, wherever, be sure to give us a rating there, perhaps review it, spread the word. And we'd love to have you come and interact with us on Discord, like we do have some of our patrons with us today doing. That's always a lot of fun. Then I got a little detail. Our last episode, which was a midweek special on...
Is that the Narnia one?
Yeah, our last midweek special that was on the Narnia books. We had a difference of opinion. You called me out on my pronunciation of
that
a
happens.
satyr.
Yeah, because that's so wrong.
But it's not. I looked it up. I'm like, I've always said satyr, and you're like, it's a satyr.
You've never said
right?
that in your life until
No, I always said it that
episode.
way.
No.
Always said it that way. Come on, I use that word every week. Okay, maybe that's overboard. But I looked it up. It's legit that you can say it both ways. Satyr is the first one listed, and
I'm
satyr
okay with
is an alternate pronunciation.
Both ways. I still stand by the fact that your memory's faulty. You've never said it that way in my life.
Always said it,
Maybe
but
in college,
I'm not going to
when
convince you, so we're
had
going to
friends
move
your
on.
age or
All
something.
right.
I don't know.
I will point out, though, something you said, that they were also called fawns in the book, and fawns were actually something different. They were different in
our
Narnia.
reference. We were talking about Mr. Tumnus.
Yes,
he is called a fawn. He is not called a satyr.
He is a fawn, correct. He's
and they're
not
very
a satyr.
Similar.
Yes,
they're very similar creatures.
Yeah, but they're different. Okay, so they are different. Just there you go. All right, that's it. Silly nonsense. Let's move into chapter 6 of The Shadow Rising. This one's called Doorways. And we pick up right where chapter 5 left off. Moraine and Elayne came back into the room where Nynaeve, Egwene were questioning the Black Aja sisters.
Yes.
And Moraine, she's got steam coming out of her ears. She is ticked off. Elayne's just kind of trailing in behind her.
She's got a literal storm cloud above her, actually. It occasionally crackles. It's a very useful form of channeling to show others how you're feeling. No, I'm joking. But it's funny.
And it is really out of character for Moraine to have lost her cool like this. This is not how Aes Sedai typically comport themselves, especially in front of other people. Maybe in front of their warder, they might go off. I don't know. But no one's seen Moraine like this of these people before. Why is she so furious? Remind us what happened in the previous chapters.
Well, most importantly, while all this mess, bubbles of evil, all that jazz, Rand almost dying, all that's frustrating. It's not what's got her upset. What's got her upset is she said, Rand, you need to make a decision. I can lead you on a good path. And Rand's like, don't tell me what to do. He dug his heels in so much further. And you could tell this is not a new conversation. They've been having this at least since the beginning of The Dragon Reborn.
Right. We'll talk more about that here as this chapter goes along. This stubborn wool-headedness of Rand al'Thor. Now, the point of view we're getting for this chapter is one we haven't had a lot of yet in this series, and that's Elayne. So, Elayne, who's trailing in behind Moraine. We're seeing her perspective on Moraine throwing a fit. We're seeing her perspective on Nynaeve and Egwene as they interact to converse with her. And so, this is a good choice for Robert Jordan because Elayne is more familiar with Aes Sedai. She's been around Aes Sedai for years and years. So when she says, whoa, this is not what Aes Sedai do, you have a little more context than if it was just Egwene.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm humored at Elayne noticing Nynaeve's reaction to Moraine throwing a fit. Because Nynaeve just seems tickled pink to see Moraine losing her crap.
Yeah, that's accurate.
And even kind of pokes the bear a little bit. Well, I don't know why you're having such trouble with Rand. We in the Two Rivers, the women's circle, I mean, we never had any trouble with Two Rivers men. And Egwene is practically like,
yeah,
what?
The look she gives her, it's like Elayne can tell. That's not true. But again, Nynaeve thinks it's funny.
Yes. Now, Moraine does know that this temper tantrum she is throwing is not Aes Sedai proper. But she's just in front of these accepted. Oh, and Avienda. We get reminder Avienda's in the room kind of as the guard with the girls, kind of keep an eye on them.
It's a moment there where Elayne pulls the whole, oh, she's here. She's mastered the act of standing so still. I forget that she's even there. Turns out she's a lot better at it than Drax. Yes, I did watch that movie again last night. But that was a tangent of Marvel proportions.
Are you going to Guardians of the Galaxy?
Character, yes, but it's actually an Infinity War.
Ah, okay. Because the movie I knew you watched yesterday was Mars Attacks, which is awesome because he showed it to his girlfriend for the first time. We could do a Mars Attack. We could do a Mars Attack,
a live
Twitch stream or whatever, Yes. Oh, that would be fun. Bet we could get people to do that with us. Ah, yeah. See, Jordo's got the meme on it already. It is such a great movie. Such a bad movie, but that's why it's great. We could do that. We'll have to think about that. Exactly. So bad it's good, Jordo says. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on. Anyways. Wow, we tangented fast there.
I told you it was a tangent.
Let's get back on here. Moraine, she's going to tangent quick because she's been in this temper tantrum and blah, blah. And then she's like, oh, crap, you still have those black sisters in this room. So now she realizes she's been throwing a little hissy fit in front of full sisters, even though they're dark, evil black sisters. Still, she doesn't want to look like she's not in control in front of these women. So, Aes Sedai calm, puts the mask back on. Now, Amiko didn't hear any of this. Why not? Remind us of the situation with these two.
She's still bound and got her ears plugged with weaves and been turned with her to face the wall because they were questioning them one at a time. And most recently, they were talking with Joya. So Joya's still just like there, completely open and fine, but has been looking at this. And while with most of these individuals, especially with Elayne, Nynaeve, Egwene, she would have been kind of poking at them a little bit more, prodding them to go further. She knows to keep her mouth shut with Moraine.
Yep, she's not giving her digs. She's not giving her looks or laughing. No, she just...
If anything, she looks a little scared.
Well, Moraine walks up to Joya. And she announces to her, this is kind of how she's going to get back on an even keel, I think in Moraine's own mind. She announces, I've made a decision. You two are going to be sent to Tar Valon now. I've made arrangements. 4 days from now, you're on a ship. You're headed that way. I don't want to hear another bloomin' thing out of you unless it's something new. None of this stuff you've been saying before. Not one more word unless it's new. But you'd be wise to share something new. some good stuff. Because what's going to happen? She tells them what's going to happen in Tarvalon. What's going to happen?
Well, they'll be sent back and tried and dealt with and probably stilled and possibly executed. And yeah, it's not a pretty picture.
Yeah, and the way she says it right here, there's not really a possibly on it. The executed part is kind of a given. It's
I mean,
just a
she
matter
does her
of,
nice, like, Aes Sedai wording just enough so that she can leave plausible deniability of whether she could confirm it will happen, but also, like, this is what's going to happen.
yeah, I didn't read any plausible deniability. But I did read into, and she was actually pretty blatant on this, it can go the hard way or it can go the easy way. And what you say in these next few days is going to make the difference.
I don't know. I felt like it was more a hard way or harder way. Um, Neither's going to be nice.
Right? Okay, fair enough. So with that, he's like, I'm pretty much done with you. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Goes around and turns Amiko using the power. So they're both facing now. And Amiko sees, oh, Moraine's here. Ah, kind of falls on her knees. Like, don't hurt me. Yeah. And Moraine then tells Avienda, bring in some of the guards from outside. Guards come into the room, says to the captain, all right, repeat back your orders to me. Now, she's not really checking if the guards know the orders. She's making sure Amiko and Joya know what has been ordered, what they will be dealing with now as they sit down here in the dungeon. And so those orders simply make it very clear. They are going to be under highly strict observation, guarded. No one's getting through. No one's breaking out. They are not to talk to each other, to a guard, nothing. They will sit and stew in silence.
That being said, the guards aren't necessarily like sure why they have these orders. A couple of women here. They look not really particularly dangerous. Not like the ideal. Why are we having like 20 guards on them at all times and they can't even talk? But also, when a full Aes Sedai is telling you and very strictly saying this is what you're gonna do, you kind of shut up and say, yes, ma'am.
Yep, that's true. And with that, the guards take them away. Now, the conversation then continues between the women left in the room. And we learn a few things here from them. One, Nynaeve is miffed that Moraine just sent the women back to the cells. It's like, you promised to question them with us, and then you were here 5 minutes. Now you come back and you're just done? What the heck? Well, why is Moraine sending them back? Well, she's sure they're not going to learn anything else. Yeah. Just that 5 minutes basically told Moraine, that's all we're going to get. And you just need to make a decision.
Y'all have been keeping him around and keep asking things and getting the same things over and over. You're stalling. You're procrastinating because you don't want to make a choice yet.
She even implies, you two Rivers people, you just aren't good at making decisions. Now, what's she subtly referencing there? It's not just about the girls. Yeah. Lumping them all together. You guys can't move forward, can't make up your mind. Y'all suck. Come on, choose. We also get that Elayne is upset because she learned Elayne had been in Rand's bedchambers. What's the big deal there, Zach?
Well, I mean, she definitely assumes she was in Rand's bedchambers. And B, she's into Rand.
Okay.
They're
already familiar with
the whole thing.
They are already familiar with Elayne. She's not high on Elaine's list of favorite people. And then she comes out of Rand's bedchambers wearing, I enjoyed, wearing even less than usual. Because she's always flaunting what she's got in any outfit she's wearing, apparently.
I have to assume Elayne didn't see her super well, like maybe from down the hallway or something. because she didn't see she looked terrified part.
Apparently. Maybe she even heard secondhand. Who knows? Egwene makes it clear to Elayne at this point. I just want you to know, I have no more claim on Rand. I mean, we've talked about it, but I want to make it explicit here. I just love him like a brother. I will not get between you. You can have him.
It's like, Elayne, I give up my dibs. You can pick him up.
And I'm like, do women really talk like that sometimes? I don't know. What they talk about on their own. Do they make arrangements? This guy's yours. Now, Emmeline in Discord saying, no, that's not what goes
on. On the one hand, I firmly deny this being possible, a conversation that's going to happen. On the other hand, I also kind of was in a weird situation on the other side back in high school because me and a close friend both were interested in someone, and it was like, oh no, I'll stay back, you do. There was this kind of conversation.
So guys do this, is what you're saying, not women. But
I have to believe it's possible that people sometimes have this conversation. Is it a good and right conversation to have? I don't think so.
Should you ever admit it to the person you were talking about? No,
probably not. But also, that was high school. It's a while ago.
Now, how old are these characters? High school, a
little older than that, but not much.
No, they're teenagers. All right. Coming out of this little conversation, then, this love chat, Egwene turns a surprise question to Moraine and says, have you ever been in love? And Moraine actually answers the question. Now, not directly, not like, yes, child, of course. There was this one guy back in the season of 92, and no,
but
nothing
she says
like that.
Something a little snarky, but not mean snarky. That I think it's important that first-time listeners make note of, because it means more than you think it does. She says, I reckon I know the face of the man I will marry better than you.
And they're like, what? And then Moraine says,
chuckling to herself like it's an inside joke.
And she says, perhaps I only mean that we're all ignorant of who that might be someday. But
liar.
And you clearly, Zach, are implying she has some inside information?
I can't say what she might know, but she might know something.
So, especially, spoiler light, for our first-time readers, you might want to think, is there any way Moraine might somehow know something about what's to come? Has anything happened in this series where people can get inside information? Maybe she has some.
Anyway.
Moraine concludes this little bit with a comment that appears to be throwing a bone to Nynaeve. It says, well, I can tell you for sure, when I choose a man, if I do choose a man someday, it's not going to be Lan, my warder. Now, Nynaeve doesn't appear to appreciate this even being referenced, but Zach, remind us what the deal is with that. Why would she toss a bone like that to Nynaeve?
I mean, Nynaeve might despise Moraine in part because she has claims on Lan as her warder, and Nynaeve's in love with Lan. Lan's maybe in love with Nynaeve. It's very yes, they love each other, but also he's not going to do that because he won't promise just a burial shroud at her wedding and all that stuff. He thinks he's got nothing to offer except death and sadness, and it's get over yourself. Come on, man.
So this whole thing just is a touchy situation that she doesn't even want to think about, really. So thanks for bringing it up again, Moraine. Yeah, that made me feel good. So Nynaeve moves the conversation back to what she refers to as actually important. Deciding the truth of what Joya and Amiko have said. But Elayne takes the conversation down another left turn and says, maybe you might want to know why we were pulled away from the questioning in the first place. And through that, the others then learn what had happened to Rand and about this bubble of evil thing. And that these bubbles are likely to increase in occurrence, especially if Rand doesn't learn to control the one power.
And just
So,
like that, all our main characters are kind of caught up on bubbles of evil and what we know.
yes. But you just said the phrase, what we know. And I want to call BS out here on Moraine a little bit again, because I'm not sure she knows nearly as much as she's implying she knows. Like she says, these bubbles are just going to probably grow more and more moving forward. And
I mean, the
especially if
last
Rand doesn't
chapter-
learn how to control the one power. And it's like, how does she know that? What?
The last
There's no
chapter
history of
we got
bubbles.
with this information when she first brought it up, and I believe the word she used was miasms.
Miasma.
Miasmas. There we go. I was like, I don't know the word. I'll be honest. That one escapes my knowledge. But she like brought it up as a theory. It was something she was logicking out and figuring out. Not anything she knows.
I'm just laughing at Discord. I think it's in reference to miasma, not to be confused with amoeba.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, I wasn't. Miasma, amoeba. No,
I mean,
not
honestly,
there,
just start
maybe
saying a
someone
lot
would
of
be.
weird words that are multiple syllables and kind of end with it'll work.
Okay, good point. There you go. Well, Nynaeve's like, okay, so it's so important Rand learns to control the power better. Why aren't you teaching him? Why don't you do something to help him? And we're reminded here of two things. One, Nynaeve was so busy at the White Tower learning how to channel that she didn't bother to pay attention to learn about the one power. That's Moraine kind of slapping her down. You should have paid attention in class.
She skipped One Power 101. She got moved ahead into the advanced placement classes without actually having the foundation she needs, okay?
Exactly. That's
fault.
true. That's true. That's part of why my handwriting sucks. I skipped the grade in school where they taught handwriting and then learned by looking at the letters up on the wall and copying them. So that's not a good way to learn the foundational skill.
I guess I don't have that excuse. I mean, I don't specifically remember spending a lot of time on handwriting, but I just have bad handwriting.
So the foundational piece that Nynaeve actually didn't learn is that the male half, Saidin, the female half, Saidar, are totally different. So different that it's like apples and oranges, water and oil. I mean, you can't make them work together in like, okay, this is how you use Saidar, so do Saidin this way and it'll work as well. No, nothing like that.
But I do want to just say, on my end, you put two comparisons there that I think are wonderful comparisons to use because they are drastically different. However, apples and oranges, they are still both fruits. Water and oil, drastically different. They are still both fluids. So I like that.
Ooh, cool.
We'll get into it more in the next chapter.
Okay, very good. And that's true. We certainly will. Further conversation shifts to Moraine's primary source of frustration. So he's saying, we just stop talking about the power thing. There's nothing we can do to teach Rand. So move on. What we need to figure out is how to deal with him being such a stubborn person where he will not take my advice. See, all he's doing all this time now, it's been over 2 weeks, he's just sitting here in tear. Moraine's like, this is extremely dangerous. She knows what he should do next. Now, why does she think she knows what he should do next?
Because she thinks she knows everything?
She legitimately has some reason to think she knows better than Rand, though, of what the next move
prophecies
ought to be.
For so long, and
she
really
spent
trying
the last 20 years immersed in this stuff.
Happen.
Yes, so she has some logical steps. She's like, here's what he should do, and she has explained this to him. He will not listen. Okay, and we got a hint from this already back in the chapter where Matt was gaming with some Tyrion lordlings. Okay. Rand should lead Tyr to war against Elayne. They hate Ilian. So if he says, we're going to go take Ilian, they'll be like, yes, Lord Red, Lord Dragon, and they will follow him off a cliff. Okay, so you'll rally all the Terran lords, all the people strongly behind you. We know Ilian is currently ruled by Samael, a Forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
So with your whole troops, you go and kick the butt of the troops of Ilian while you then take out Samael. You'll have removed another Forsaken from the board, and you'll now have 2 of the major nations of the world under your control. That'll cause some of the other smaller nations to come to you because the Dragon Reborn is conquering the world. He's got Tyr, he's got Ilian. We should get on board before he conquers us,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll develop this massive support base of the nations, which is what Rand needs to have in place before the last battle.
So
before he faces the Dark One at Tarmangaiden.
So that's the plan that Moraine would like. And
Yes.
Nynaeve has a reaction much like mine, which is, are you kidding me? That's the plan? The plan is we go to war and we directly try to attack a Forsaken. Moraine, you just said we can't sit here because it's not safe, like from the Forsaken. So you want us to go find and fight one?
And she's thinking of all the collateral damage, all the death, all the hunger, all the orphans that'll be created, famine, misery. Why? Why would your plan cause something like this? And Moraine actually turns to Elayne and she's like, do you have the same issue? And Elaine's like, no, I kind of understand. And she's the one that explains Rand wouldn't really be causing war. War is inevitable because he exists. If he doesn't go to war, the Forsaken aren't just going to sit there do nothing. They'll be the ones that'll prompt the nations of the world to rise up against Rand. They'll manipulate situations. There will still be war, but now it'll be Rand with everyone against him. He's got to move first.
2 clear sides to this. Nynaeve in the camp of, we can't do that. That's horrible. Let's not do it. And Elayne in the, no, Moraine's right. This is inevitable. We might as well start one and have control. And I'm like, why are those the 2 sides? Why not be like, okay, war might be inevitable, but we don't have to enforce and make it worse, and let's just do our best to make things good? I don't like either side that much because one feels naive and one feels dark.
Moraine's got one more point here. By going out and taking off Samael, hopefully taking off his head, something like that, it also sends a message to the rest of the Forsaken. She's worried any day some Forsaken's going to pop in and take Rand out. He needs to send another message loud and clear. I am no easy meat. No simple pickings. Back off. Be scared. Don't mess with me. But I think Rand, he's struggling to make a decision because he thinks more like you do, Zach. He doesn't want to cause all this chaos that Moraine is pushing. He's like, I think there could be another way. I think there's got to be another way.
Number 3.
Yeah. But since she is convinced Rand has to do what she's saying, that this is the only move that makes sense, her frustration, Moraine's frustration, is driving her nuts. Again, in the back of her mind, she says, I've had 20 years to process this, to figure out what should happen. Why is he not taking advantage of that wisdom, that knowledge, that preparation?
And eventually, Moraine drops a little bit of a bomb on us in that apparently there kind of is a door number 3.
A doorway number 3.
Yeah.
She mentions to the girls, okay, you all know about the Great Holding, right? And they're like, duh, yeah, we've been here a while. We've been exploring. To explain for our listeners, the Great Holding is this massive collection of things of power that the rulers of Tyr have been collecting for a couple thousand years. Basically, they hate the one power, which has led them, hate might be the wrong term, They really don't
I
like
like
the
hate.
one power.
I think hate's
Okay.
accurate. I mean, for 1,000 years they've been doing this. I think hate's accurate.
So whenever they no, I like what Jordo put. It gives them the EBGBs. I like that better. That's good. Okay. It leads them to seek out things that have to do with the one power, get their mitts on them, and shove them down in the basement where nobody can get to them anymore.
Yeah, put them in a
So
deep dark hole. Throw away the key.
that's it. They've got rooms and rooms deep in the Stone of Tyr filled with Terangrial, Angrial, probably some Sangrial down there. There's so much down there that people don't even know what it is anymore. Buried in dust,
Mhm.
piled in
They
boxes.
are not cataloged well because they were intentionally forgotten.
Yeah, they don't care. Throw it in there and never look at it again. And that way, no one else can use it. That's the real goal because no one can conquer the Stone of Tyr until now. Well, Moraine admits, and so do the girls. They know they've been through this down there a little bit. There's so much down there, no one knows what it does. They're going to maybe send these things back to the White Tower eventually and carefully try to puzzle out maybe what some of these things are. But Moraine says here now, okay, there's one thing down there. I do know what it does. And it could be helpful at this time if I'm desperate enough to use it. So, which Terangrial, not Sa, not
Mhm.
regular, Terangrial, is she talking about?
There's a specific twisted stone archway that is down there. It's actually the last item that was ever added to the Horde
True.
before things got kind of like sealed up and go, hey, we're done with that. We're done. And the girls are like, Moraine, how do we know about this? And she's like, well, it was actually a pretty famous acquisition because it was used by the rulers of Mayenne for a really, really long time until a deal with Tyr went, hey, you leave us alone. We'll give you all of these trade routes. You get better prices, and you can have this artifact of ours that we've used for so long because we really don't want you to destroy us.
Well, and there's a key behind that. This doorway, magical doorway, is something where a person can walk through it, and where they go, there are people, there are something that they can ask 3 questions. And they will get true answers to those questions. It can be questions about the past, about the present, about the future. And they will get true answers, but you can only do it once. And the ruler of Mayenne at the time had already done it.
And he was
So it was
young and
worthless
felt
to
like
him.
there was a good career going. He was excited. He gave the stone archway away. The next year, the
I'm
Lords of
never gonna
Tyr
need
had
it.
him assassinated, so that didn't work out very well for him.
Didn't work out well for him. He might have wanted to ask in his questions, how does it end for me?
I'm pretty sure he would have been told.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
But it works out well for Moraine because now it's down here in the Great Holding where she has it available.
and Egwene's like, why have we not used it already? Let's just go in.
We can all
Let's just
jump in.
ask, how do we win the last battle? What's the dragon got to do? Stuff like that. Why?
What's the lottery numbers? Oh, they may not have
It's
that.
the same ones from Lost. I don't have them off the top of my head, but it's always the same numbers.
42, 14, yeah, something like that. I'm pretty sure 42 is the first number. I watched that show. Anybody? Discord? You remember what the first number in the Lost lottery number was?
A quick Google could find it, but
it might be 29. It's 42 or 29 for the first number. I don't remember. Jordo, I know the answer to everything is 42. That's a different
my brain was there too.
book. But it's probably true.
Anyway,
All right.
Moraine kind of snaps back and explains as calmly as she can. You can't just go in and do. There's a danger to this. There are rules.
Now wait a second.
Wait a second. Problems.
No, you said as calmly as she can. She starts off with, that's the problem with you girls. You don't think first and just jump into everything.
Notice I said the calmest that she can. I didn't say it was calm.
Okay. All right. But please go on. You were explaining there's rules.
Yeah, we don't
What's that
actually get
about?
explained most of what those rules are here, which is frustrating because it would be very useful for us as readers to know at this point. But we don't hear what the rules are yet. We just are told that there are rules. You have to do things in specific ways, um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or there could be bad consequences. In addition,
Yeah.
your questions can't touch the shadow.
Not at all. Bad
If
things happen.
if they remotely touch the shadow at all, like you said, bad things happen. And so anything to do with the dragon is gonna touch the shadow somehow, somewhere.
Probably.
So you have to be really careful what questions you can ask.
Yeah, that's why she hasn't gone in at all. That's why it's a last resort, because she's been racking her brain. How could I ask something that would help me help Rand without possibly touching the shadow? Because she's known if people in the past, again, I said I got a chance to study this thing when Moiraine had it. If a question is asked that touches on the shadow, you come out like a bumbling idiot, or maybe you don't even come out. Something will happen bad. So you got to avoid that. But she also knows one other thing that she does share with the girls. Your question, whatever questions you ask, need to be worthy. Nothing frivolous, nothing stupid. Who am I going to marry? No, it needs to be significant. And what you think is significant may not be a significant question. So
It's very
if you
much a if
ask
you ask a
something,
stupid question, you'll get a stupid answer.
and it could be a painfully stupid answer. So these are all reasons to go, do I really want to go in there? I don't know. Makes me a little nervous. Discord's just helping me out here. What is
Is your name
your name? What is your
quest?
quest? What
Is
is
your
your
favorite color?
favorite color?
Blue, no, green.
Yes, yes, yes. What is the airborne velocity of a coconut-laden swallow?
African or European variety.
I don't know that. Wah! Okay, we finished. We
At
can
this
move on.
point, we've definitely been sued for quoting Monty Python. It's fine.
We're not trying to monetize these YouTube episodes at this point, so whatever we want can go. It's all good. All right. So with all these concerns shared about the doorway, this clearly points out why Moraine hasn't used it, why the girls should not think of using it, and honestly, why she's just stuck here trying to figure out how to get Rand to just listen. It also helps the girls recognize, okay, so this is not going to help us with our issue with the Black Aja and
Because the
knowing
moment we ask about the Black Aja, Shadow, bad things, no.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. So they're in the same spot. Do they go to Tanchico, like Amiko was suggesting is the direction? Do they go to Saldea and stop Mazrim Taim from being broken out by Black Sister? How do they know what to do?
Well,
They're
Moraine
frustrated.
offers a logical conclusion, which is to say, go to Tanchico, because if Saldea is the correct path, there ain't nothing you can do.
Yeah, there's already going to be gobs of Aes Sedai and warders surrounding him, and if they have enough to break him out, you're not going to be able to stop it. You won't.
Yeah.
You're nothing. You won't be able to help. Besides, I already sent a message. I sent 3 messages to the Amerlin about this possibility the moment they first said it. And the girls are like, yeah, thanks for telling us you did that at least. Elayne says it with drippy sarcasm, and Moraine's like, you're welcome.
It's that great moment where it's like, hey, can you tell us how to use the power to send messages? Oh, no, you sent pigeons. Darn. Are you sure we can't just, like, call people across the world with this? That'd be great.
Basically, when Moraine just drops that in, yeah, I already took care of this on my own. She's throwing that little dig of, you are still just accepted. I'm Aes Sedai. I do not have to explain myself to you. I do not need to tell you anything more than I want to. Deal with it. And with that, she leaves them for the night. Which leaves the last bit of the chapter, more or less, to be Elayne mooning over Rand, Egwene, again clarifying, I have no claim on him, I'm out of the way, in fact, let's figure out how to make sure Rand is yours. Which is important because Elayne is basically frustrated here over that hussy Bearlane. So how do we overcome that?
I like the option where they come up with, well, you could just tell him. And
Oh
Elaine's
no,
like,
that'll
no, I
never
could
work.
never do that. That would be so brazen, and uh, that's not okay. It's like, well, open communication is actually a good thing in relationships. Maybe you should consider it. I don't know. Maybe.
Remember, good communication would shorten 15 Wheel of Time books down to 5, and we can't have that.
No chance of that. So it definitely couldn't be an option.
Nynaeve comes in here towards the end of this conversation. Basically, first off saying, okay, about time. I could tell, Egwene, you were done with him. Elayne, you're in love with him. Just waiting for you guys to finally acknowledge it. But, okay, if you're saying that, now, Elayne, are you sure? He's the Dragon Reborn. He can channel, so he's gonna go out of his mind and die. You know this, right? Are you really sure you want to pursue this?
And she says yes.
Yeah. I don't really have a choice. I knew I was in love with him after 5 minutes of meeting him.
Stupid Taviran.
Can't explain it. Just is. So they spend the remaining part of the chapter scheming up, developing their plan, mostly Egwene and Elayne, on how they're going to make sure Rand is done with that Bearlane, is wrapped around Elaine's finger, so that when the girls, still as the hounds for the Amerlin chasing the Black Aja, do leave for Tanchico, so they've clearly decided we're going to take Moraine's advice, Rand will be Elaine's. He'll know it. He won't stray, even while she's going on her own path, because she's a woman with her own job, and can't just, stay with Rand. She's got to do her own thing, but he's gonna know he better stay true. He belongs to her. There's two last things I want to note in this chapter.
Definitely.
One is there's a throwaway line, a couple pages before the end, where Elayne references to Egwene. Do you remember what Min used to say? All her jokes about sharing him? I sometimes wondered if that was a viewing she did not tell us about.
Yeah, Elayne, you didn't get Min's sense of humor. Those were never actually jokes. She was just laughing at them. They were 100% honesty, because she's explained she has had a viewing about that.
Yeah, definitely first-time readers remember that. And the other one is that Elayne is concerned what her mother, Queen Morgase, might say about Elayne chasing after a commoner like Rand, even if he is the Dragon Reborn. Okay, there's a lot in that statement to start with, but spoiler light, we're just going to say remember that, okay?
I will say the biggest kind of thing that gets talked about a little bit is that the commoner part is probably the least problematic to Morgase, probably. The whole Dragon Reborn and ruling other bits and stuff is probably actually a bigger problem.
And going mad.
Yeah.
Maybe. But the real highlight is Egwene pointing out, your mom can hardly say anything if what Matt shared about how she's throwing herself at this Lord Gabriel. I mean, if that's true, how can she talk?
And Elayne
says,
that can't be true. Like, yeah, my mom would never let that happen.
Matt's exaggerating. No way. Yeah, if only they knew. All right, that's chapter 6. Let's move to chapter 7, Playing with Fire.
So I want to preface this chapter by saying I do like Egwene as a character throughout the series. That's all actually true. This chapter, things she does or thinks highlights some of the things that tick me off most, and I am going to seem like I hate Egwene in this chapter. It's not true. It's just this chapter really triggers some of those things for me, and fair warning.
Okay. All right. Let her have it. This one starts just as the following morning is dawning, and Egwene is arriving at Rand's chambers, pretty much dragging Elayne along with her. But this is all carefully staged. Elaine's she's reticent, but it's only because she's nervous. What we're going to try is really going to work. Egwene is intentionally dressed very plain, playing down any of her better features. Don't want to look any fancy or anything to highlight Elayne,
Mhm.
who is
Even with the
dolled
hot
up.
weather, she's got a scarf. Apparently, the scarf and some jewels and stuff that Elayne is wearing, Avienda had, because apparently the Aiel maidens just have stuff of that tucked away somewhere. Not sure
Now,
about
hang
that
on.
where,
Hang on.
but
Scarf. No, the scarf is on Egwene.
Egwene has a scarf. I was saying Elayne has all these jewels. Both of them come from Avienda
Okay. But the scarf on Egwene is partly to,
to
again, make
hide.
her look just plain. Yeah. Whereas Elayne, complete opposite of a scarf. Because instead of wearing more Andorran style, she's wearing very much Tyr style. And her outfit is like yanked farther down in front and trying to really highlight and accentuate all her beauty and look at me. It's
I mean,
kind of how they
she's
have
not
her all dolled
wearing
up.
like a dress Barrelane would, but it's
Not quite
closer.
that bad, but she's going about as far as she feels comfortable with in that direction. So they really do have her all dolled up, all gorgeous. And the contrast, again, between Egwene and Elayne as they come to Rand. But they don't say, hi, we're here in Rand's room, coming to Rand's room to woo him to her. No, that's not what they come.
They didn't
They
have an actual plan of anything they were going to say. They were just going to walk in and go. But then they're suddenly there. They see the Aiel looking at them, looking like they're ready to kill any and everything. And so they just kind of panic and go, yeah, we're going to go check out his wounds. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not Aiel maidens this time.
Nope.
It's stone dogs. It's a group of the men. And their leader here on guard duty is one we've met before, Gaul.
Good old Gaul.
Yeah. And when they say to him, we just want to check his wounds, make sure he's healing well. He's like, oh, yeah. They may be bothering him because he already literally threw some High Lords out of the room this morning. I mean, they were led by a High Lord Tyrion, and I lost a bet because he slid across the floor from the room that far. I thought he'd get just a little farther, but no. And he points over another guy, Mangan here. He won money off me because he bet and got it right.
Now, I'm not sure we said the name of that High Lord quite right, but that's only because I think it's one of the lords that we saw Matt gambling with the other night that gets mentioned here.
No. It's the one we saw talk with Barrelane.
Is that the one?
When she came fleeing out.
I knew it's one we'd seen not that long ago.
Yes. So still trying to get at Rand, manipulate Rand, whatever, and got chucked out. Like literally thrown out of the room.
That's impressive. He's not a small man.
And I want to point out something here. We get that other Aiel named, Mangan. No one is named in this series unless there's a reason. Robert Jordan has something more he's thought of with any character he's named. Now, we don't always learn all there is to it. But it means this is not just anonymous person in background anymore. It's a named character. And I want you to remember Mangan. This is where you met Mangan. Okay.
The moment a name is given, you're promoted from Aiel number 7 to Mangan, the Aiel that you'll see again one other time, maybe.
It does not guarantee that you're not still a red shirt. Anything can happen to anybody, but pay attention to names. They usually come back. One of the best ones, by the way, there is Almond Bunt.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him in The Eye of the World. First time readers, don't forget the name Almond Bunt. If you don't remember who that is, go look up who he is again. You're going to see him again.
But be careful looking it up because you might see when you see him again.
Yeah, only look him up in the context of The Eye of the World. Go back in the book. Do not Google. Never Google.
That's something I would do, so don't do it.
Nevertheless, here we are moving on into Rand's room, okay? Because I want to point out we've shifted from Elayne's point of view to Egwene's point of view in this chapter. And okay, we've just heard, wow, he's chucking people out. Well, we're still going to go in, okay? We still need to talk to Rand. But she is internally thinking, has he changed that much? I mean, the Rand I grew up with wouldn't have done that to a High Lord. Has he become more violent? I mean, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
But okay, in they go. Doors open. We see a totally different room now. Everything's put back together. There's no blood. I mean, the place has been all cleaned up.
That being said, there is a significant absence of mirrors. The walls look a little empty.
And Rand doesn't look like we last saw him. He's just casually sitting on a chair reading a book. Now, as the doors open and they walk in, he gets a scowl and he stands up. And he looks up like he's about to go off on someone. And when he sees who it is, he tones down a little bit. And he explains, yeah, I'm tired of dealing with people coming in who want stuff, demanding things that I can't do for them or I won't do for them. And then he's like, wait a second. And his face shifts to suspicion. Yeah, why are you here? Did Moraine send you? Now, Egwene talks him down. No.
In fact, they're like here doing things that she told us specifically not to do.
Right. We just want to help. And we have an idea on how to help. Now, to get past Rand's defenses on this, Egwene first goes in to try to connect with, their shared past in the Two Rivers. She's like, come on, I've known you since we were kids. I've seen you when you've been being, spanked back for your misbehaviors, being just a misbehaving young boy.
Now,
that goes badly for Egwene.
Yeah, I want to start here. This is one of the first things that ticks me off in this chapter that Egwene does. Because she brings up this old memory of, yeah, you remember when you got spanked? That was hilarious. And so Rand goes back and goes, yeah, but it wasn't as funny as that other time where you and I got in trouble and you were spanked so bad. It was hilarious.
Squealing like a pig.
Yeah. And she just moves, shuts down.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about that.
It's like, okay, any engagement and reminiscence you were looking for, you've just ruined because you got embarrassed and we're like, no, he's not allowed to see me as an old friend. He still has to see me as this new, now proper kind of Aes Sedai-ish authority. You failed what you were trying, Egwene.
Okay. But fine. Okay, he's like, so you want to help. Well, how about, can you help me figure out how to manage High Lords who only obey when I'm actually watching? Probably not. What about helping me stop unwanted dreams? And he glances at Elayne as he says that, and he's like, oh, let's move topics again. What might be in Rand's thoughts there?
He might be picturing Elayne naked. He might have seen that in a dream.
He may have. He may have had that particular dream more than once, for all we know.
And having some awkward, guilt feelings of, I internally have been I don't feel that way about Egwene, but also she's never thought of me that way, Elayne, so it's not proper. I feel bad. I'm blushing.
And, let's acknowledge the fact that she is gorgeous. And he's had this dream of her naked, and now here she is and all that gorgeousness right in front of him. Yeah, a little uncomfortable now.
Oops.
It says, so he shifts it to, okay, well, maybe you could help me translate documents from the old tongue. I've got these things I've been trying to study and puzzle through. Did you learn about that sort of stuff in the White Tower? And no. We didn't learn those sorts of things. But here's what we think we can do to help. And Egwene says, we've come to help you with your channeling. Moraine has said a woman can't help a man, but we want to try. Now, Rand's been told that too. Moraine told Rand. So he's like, I don't have time to waste my time on things that aren't possible. Okay. I've got this whole country to rule.
I will say, I feel like it's really admirable, though, that they actually are going to try rather than just accept we've been told it's impossible. Instead, be like, okay, but is it? Maybe it's not possible to really learn, but we could learn something from it, maybe?
So they're taking the time to try. Exactly. And Egwene's a little irked at Rand. He's too important now. He's a ruler of Tyr and can't spend a little time with his friends. We're taking time out. You're just a shepherd from the Two Rivers, a little big for your britches. And she's about to go off on that when Elayne actually steps into the conversation. Smoothly says, "Come on, Rand. We want to try. It's important. Think of how good it would be if we can help you, if this will work. Isn't that worth it?" And he just stares at her for a moment, and long enough to almost kind of get a little uncomfortable. And all right, I'll give you a little
So,
time.
what do we do?
Well, step one, Egwene tells Rand, "Watch me." And then she embraces Sidar. Now, pretty much as she can hold. She's pulling in so much, it's right on the edge of uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And then says, "Okay, what can you see?"
He's like, I don't see anything. I've
Like,
I've got
are
some
you
goosebumps, but that's because
doing
you told me
something?
you were channeling, and I feel that way whenever I know someone's gonna be channeling around me. It's unsettling to know.
Yeah, I've been around Moraine when she channels. I can never see it. I can see what she does, but I can't see channeling. Egwene was like, yeah, I know that, but I can hold way more power than Moraine can. I mean, she'd be weeping uncontrollably to try to hold the power I'm holding right now. So I thought maybe that might make a difference. Now, holding so much of the power like that does grow uncomfortable. We noted that, but even
Mhm.
more uncomfortable if you just hold it. I mean, it wants to be used.
Yep.
So she impulsively says, "I've got all this power. Let me take a look at Rand's wound." She knows she's not really good at healing, but she did learn the weaves for healing. So she weaves the various air, fire, spirit, I think is what it is, anyways, and reaches out to that staph infection.
Yep.
And
And
as soon as she
she opens
touches
a
it,
jar on a festering wound and just is hit with this
ooh,
wave of nausea. It is gross.
yeah, all dark, festering ickiness. She pulls right back, and honestly can't reckon with how he's not weeping in pain. How can he bear that?
But she does her best to hide that and instead just
Yep.
go, "Okay, you sure you don't feel anything?"
Yeah, because that reaching out was like just a blip. It was only a momentary thing. It's easy to hide. But again, no, he doesn't feel anything. Again, like you said before, just goosebumps. So she releases the source, tells Rand, "Okay, I'm no longer channeling. Do you still feel the goosebumps?" He's like, "No, because you told me you're not doing anymore. It just freaks me out a little." And then he shivers again. "See, you mentioned you're not channeling. It made me think of channeling again, and now I have goosebumps again." And now Egwene's like, "Yes!"
Because she
Because
looks
what's going
over and
on?
sees, yeah, I'm not channeling. But Elayne just embraced the source without telling you anything. We'd planned we were gonna do this. I was gonna hold the source, let it go, and then she was gonna secretly do it. And guess what? You felt it, my friend. They don't really go into it very much, but apparently goosebumps equals a woman channeling around Rand, maybe?
Yeah, they felt that was really clear validation that Rand can feel when a woman embraces the source.
Now, if they really wanted to test this and go into it, they need to try a whole bunch more blind tests, at least like 1,000 or something, just so they can get a good sample to kind of pull from. But they're not really into that whole scientific method yet.
No, no. I mean, I'm sure the world was once upon a time, different age. It's a wheel. Anyways, we may want to keep an eye on the possibility. They believe they've proven Rand can sense when a woman is holding the source. Are they right? We'll find out. Maybe. Now they ask Rand, okay, we want you to embrace Sidene. And Egwene can't detect anything. After a few moments, she turns to Elayne. Anything? She's like, no, I don't sense anything either. Now,
So
humorously,
much so that she's like, are you just playing with us? We told you to do something. You're not actually doing anything.
Before we jump to that, I wanted to note that little side comment. Egwene notices during this that Rand keeps glancing at Elayne and then like looking away, blushing. So that stuff's still in his head, and she can tell. She doesn't know why, but she can tell. Okay, so that's there. But you're right. She's a little ticked off. It's like, are you just playing with us now? And what happens?
It says he pinches her bottom, which, okay, maybe I'm just too young, but the description, because it's a common description in things of pinching a bottom, I go, why?
He goosed her.
Anytime this is talked about and done, goosing someone, I'm like, I don't get the appeal. Why did you do that?
Jordo in Discord says it's the Two Rivers way. I don't know. Anyways, she didn't appreciate it. She's like, ow, that was not nice. He's like, you wanted me to do something. You wanted some evidence. And before he can say much more, she responds in kind, but we get the impression she went a little overboard.
I'm pretty sure like, she basically says in there that it's 10 times as hard.
And he is rubbing his backside. He's walking around trying to shake it off. He's limping. It's like, and he's mad. This was too far.
Oh yeah. This is two more things in my book that just ticks me off here. First, not trusting and understanding that he actually is doing what she's asking. And then two, not just getting him back, but getting him back 10 times as hard.
Yeah. While he's having his fit about this, she looks over at Elayne, kind of feeling rather satisfied. I taught him a lesson, and she's trying not to laugh. She thinks it's kind of funny. They don't continue to think it's all that funny after a moment, though, because Rand, he turns back to them. Okay, she's going to start dressing him down. Hey, you started it. That'll teach you. You shouldn't have, you shouldn't have done that to me. Now you've learned your lesson. And he's like, fine. And suddenly they're both up in the air.
You want me to do something? I'll do something.
And they can't feel anything. They can't see anything, but they're being held up in the air. Egwene goes to stop this and reaches for the source and can't. She's shielded. Again, she can't see anything, can't feel anything. The source is there. She can sense it and she can't grab it. She can't embrace Sidar. And at that point, a little bit of fear hits home as she realizes we are now completely powerless in the control of a man who can channel. A man maybe I don't know as well anymore as I thought I did. But Rand's not done.
Oh yeah,
he's still going off.
Crazy.
What else happens in this room? This is bam, 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 bam. He's like, you want to see this? You want me to do something?
Begin to like bend and move and actually dance.
Yeah, two tables.
The like gold and silver filigree that's all over the bedposts and the walls start to melt and drip. Flames roar in the fireplace, and some of that dripping gold from the bed frame even starts to like knit itself into a metallic cloth strip of gold that's just weaving itself out there. So many things are going around.
Yeah, the hearth, just empty, dry, barren hearth suddenly is full of flame. Whoosh, a blast furnace. And so hot that little ornamental pieces, stone, metal little carvings and statues and stuff that were on the mantle start melting and pouring down the front of the hearth place. The mattress of the bed erupts and feathers go flying all over the
Mhm.
room. Again, it's a second time in 24 hours.
Oops.
Books. Books start flying around the room like the library at Hogwarts.
Tune in soon.
And he just keeps saying things like this? You like this? You wanted something? Fine. How's this? And they're really freaking out. And then all at once, everything stops.
Oh, not quite yet.
What did I miss?
Because
Oh,
those
yeah,
tables
yeah,
that were
yeah.
dancing,
They go
they
whoosh.
burst into flames as Rand is going into this and saying, not only is Saidine always there, but anytime it's there, it's the taint, that madness always waiting, seeping into him. And that's when things take a turn even worse.
One last "Wah!" and then it all stops. The books drop out of the air. The women drop to their feet.
The tables stop
Fire's
dancing.
out. Yeah, everything stops. Rand is calm now. Doesn't seem out of control. He actually apologizes for perhaps going a little too far. Says maybe you should go. He also makes the comment of, yeah, the Majir, the lady who oversees the interior things of the stone,
Mm-hmm.
she may not want to give him another mattress. One per day is probably some sort of limit. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Oops.
And of course, maybe Elayne knows. Egwene probably doesn't know this is the second mattress he's had, last
He
night.
ripped up last night the one from before, and this is just later on the next day. So, yeah.
Yeah. Egwene embraces the source then, glad that she can do it now. Nothing's shielding her. And she uses it to pull the feathers out of the air. Because again, room is all poofy with feathers floating around. Pulls them all into one ball. They're out of the way now. Literally looks at the rest of the stuff going, housekeeping, take care of it. But we got the feathers out of the way. She says, okay, Rand, we're not done yet. Now, again, the girls are a bit in shock what was just done to them. And
Mhm.
Egwene is partly thankful Nynaeve isn't here. It's like Nynaeve would go off on him now and then storm out of the room. That is probably not what is helpful here.
No, that would just make things worse, probably, and then he'd feel guilty forever.
She's also acknowledging the fact we have to keep a connection with Rand. Because what just happened here means he's got powers at a whole nother level than we could possibly have comprehended. Because she says, okay, I can channel more than one flow at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I channel two things at once, that's a lot harder than one thing.
It's twice as much effort, basically.
No, that's the thing. It takes more than twice as much effort. It's not just double the effort to do two things. It's more than double. And then she's done three things at once. We've seen that already.
Mm-hmm.
But that's even that much more. It's really hard. And what he just did had to have been at least a dozen different flows at the
If
same
not more,
time.
And he did it effortlessly.
He doesn't even look tired. The power we're talking about is to her incomprehensible. Therefore, she's got to keep a connection with him and she has to find a way to help him. So she does. She says, okay, we aren't going to leave until we're done. You said you'd help us. You said you'd try to work with us.
Mm-hmm.
And Rand was expecting them to be all terrified, shaken up, and go running out of the room, basically. When that's the response he gets, he goes, well, I did say I'd try. Why don't we sit down?
And so
okay.
They start just talking about the power. And
Imagine
this part
talking
is the most useful part of what kind of conversation here can happen. And they learn some interesting things and make some interesting comparisons that we'll go through here. And then ultimately also kind of go, well, maybe we can't teach each other everything. But we start with just like, how do you touch the source?
And the basic description shows that, oh yeah, whoa, this is not the same. These things are not the same.
And
Because
yet,
women,
Egwene does try to pull something of similarity out of it. She asks Rand, and he goes, well, that flame in the void mess puts all of himself into the flame. And Egwene apparently knows about this. She knew Tam did it. That's how he always won the archery contest.
mhm,
And
mhm.
Rand explains that Lan does it too, and this woman Celine told him about it. They call it the oneness, but it's a thing, and it's a meditative thing, and then it's there.
So that
And
can get her
Egwene's
hope up that they might
yeah,
find more similarities.
Egwene's
But
sitting here going, "I do that. I imagine I'm a rose. It's great." But then the changes, the differences.
right, as she mentions a rose, and I open up and surrender to the flows of the power, and then I can embrace it. And he's like, there's no surrendering. Okay,
No.
for a man, you have to reach out and grab it and overpower Sidene. Because if you were to surrender in that struggle, it will destroy you. She's like, no, what?
Like,
That is
you've
nothing
got
like
a
Sidar.
river, I've got a fire hose.
She says, okay, how about when you actually use Sidene? See, when we use Sidar, we can take the separate flows, air, water, fire, earth, spirit, we can see them and weave them into different ways to do the things we want to accomplish. Can you see the weaves, the different weaves? And he's like, well, sometimes,
Usually I
but,
just think and I think what I want
ha-
to happen and it
and it
happens.
just happens. Yeah, I
Which
just
to
do it.
me, this is
It's a
not a
lot
difference
more
between
useful.
men and women. This is a difference between people who have been trained how to use the power and someone who has to figure it out completely on their own,
That
who
could
doesn't
be,
know what they're doing.
but it could be a elemental difference in the way they access the power. And hearing those two different ways, if that is genuinely how it always was different between men and women, I'd be glad to be a man. Because, man, just make it so. Cool.
And finally they kind of come to, okay, at the end there, did you know how you did that? Like, you made the flames go away. How'd you do it? And this is where they finally get a little bit of a telling, okay, maybe we can't teach you things. Because Rand says he basically took the heat and dissipated it into the stones. He knows he did that. And Egwene is terrified because that's not how they do it. They have to use like water and weaves like that to quench the fire. Because apparently once Elayne tried to do that with like a candle and got horrible burns on her arm from
It
absorbing
ended
that
very
heat.
badly. Yeah.
So the methods are clearly very different.
They're learning simply that we're from what we've got so far, there are such significant differences. We're not going to easily be able to help you understand what to do. But that doesn't mean we want to give up. That means we need to continue this dialogue, continue trying. Egwene still has in the back of her head, but we got him to be able to sense it, So there was one little victory in there, and we've maintained the connection. But that's probably enough for today, she's saying. And ladies get up, and he's like, yeah, I should get on to dealing with these high lords and all. And before they leave, then Egwene steels herself for that other primary purpose of this visit. The reason she is dressed so plain and Elayne is so dolled up. And she's thinking to herself, even though she knows this is going to hurt Rand, this is where she has to do it. And they have an interchange to finish the chapter. It's too delightful. It's too hilarious to just describe it here now. This is one of those that cries out to be dramatically read with zest
Do you have
and
a page number
vigor.
for me?
All right, in the hardcover, this is on page 109.
Okay.
So Zach and I are going to read.
So I'm there. I'm also going to preface, you said it's so hilarious it needs to be read. This is one of the sections ticks me off.
No, this cracks me up.
The
But I
words
get it.
and
I understand why.
interactions is funny. The thoughts make me upset.
Oh yeah, because she knows everything, and she already knows what he's really thinking, and yada
Yeah.
yada. So, Zach, I do want to give you a choice. Do you
Yeah.
want to be Egwene, or do you want to be Rand in this dialogue? And we will read what they say, but we'll also read the narration.
Um, I'll be. I feel like I've been Rand in the past when you've been bad guys, so I'll stick with being Rand. Keep some sameness. Also, my page numbers are not the same. I'm using a hardcover. 109 was still the previous chapter, so I gotta find it.
You're looking for where it starts with Egwene saying, Rand, I cannot marry you.
Yeah,
That's where we're starting.
I gotcha.
Okay, it's just the page
But,
before the last page of the chapter.
There we go. I found it.
All right. So I'm breaking it to you gently. Rand, I cannot marry you.
I know.
She blinked. He was not taking it as hard as she expected. She told herself, that was good. I do not mean to hurt you. Really, I don't. But I do not want to marry you.
I understand, Egwene. I know what I am. No woman could.
You woe-brained idiot! This has nothing to do with you channeling. I do not love you. At least, not in the way to want to marry you.
And Rand's jaw dropped. You don't love me?
Please try to understand. People change, Rand. Feelings change. When people are apart, sometimes they grow apart. I love you as I would a brother. Perhaps more than a brother, but not to marry. Can you understand that?
I really am a fool. I didn't really believe you might change too. Egwene, I do not want to marry you either. Uh, I did not want to change. I didn't try to, but it happened. If you knew how much this means to me, not having to pretend, not being afraid I'll hurt you, I never wanted to do that, Egwene. Never to hurt you.
She very nearly smiled. He was putting on such a brave face. He was actually quite close to convincing. I am glad you are taking it so well, she told him in a soft voice. I did not want to hurt you either. And now I really must go. Rising from her chair, she bent to brush a kiss across his cheek. You will find someone else,
Of course.
he said, getting to his feet, the lie loud in his face. You will. Okay. It's just funny.
So what ticks me
She's
off
so
there?
sure that he's just putting on the brave face, and he's like, no, thank goodness
Exactly.
that she's finally letting me off the hook.
He's being open and honest and actually talking and discussing something for once in the series. And she just looks at him and goes, oh, I know better than this. I know that that's not true, but you're trying so hard. I'm like, do not think and talk down to him. Treat him like you would an equal. Actually trust when he tells you something, because he clearly did. You told him this, and he said, oh, thank goodness. I was so scared. I haven't been saying anything. But
I've been faking it
makes
for
so much.
weeks.
That works so well. Thank you. And it could have been a great moment, and instead, it's a great moment where she looks at him and goes, no.
All right, that's the end of the chapter, and that is the end of our content in this episode. What a fun bunch of stuff to go through this time. Again, as we wrap up here, and before we move into the spoiler room, we want to invite you, if you've enjoyed hanging with us here, come join us in Discord and hang out with us some more. We've got an invite link in the show notes here for this episode. Just bop in and jump in with, we've got dozens of people with us, over 50 people in the Discord right now, just who like to talk about fantasy, Wheel of Time, sci-fi, cats. There's some great cat. Have you been in the pet channel recently?
It's great.
Oh man, there's some good stuff.
I've even
Your mother was laughing out loud at the cat that's baguette. It was,
Mhm.
it was
In addition to
great.
pets, we've also been having some wonderful conversations, not just on drinks, but also on food lately. Um, so that's fantastic. If you like food, who doesn't?
Who doesn't like food? You kind of need food. So yeah, look for the invitation in our links. Also, we've got a merch channel where you can get a few mugs and frosty mugs with Fantasy for the Ages logos on it. We've got our links to social media where you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And we even do have email. If you want to write us an email, talk to us that way. We always love to interact with our fans. I think that's it then for this part, right, Zach?
Absolutely. Then we'll be heading over into the spoiler room. So, if this is your first time reading this book, if you are right along here with us, we'll see you later.
All right, today in the spoiler room, we get to full spoil something for each of
Something.
us. I'm going
I'll
to
be
go ahead
using
and
this nice one here today. You're using the weapon of mass destruction.
the monster die. Yep. All right. Well, that was lovely. Got a 5.
I got a 14. Um, I've been rolling surprisingly well on these,
You've gone first for quite a
especially
while now.
because my players will attest I do not roll well in the campaign ever.
It hasn't improved even as your rolling has improved here, huh?
Nope. In fact, I think I'm just using all my luck here.
Well, what do you want to full spoil then today for this episode?
I want to talk just a little bit about our twisted arch doorway nonsense. Most specifically, the fact that there are rules they weren't talked about, but they're very important.
They are.
And getting even further, most people in this world know what they are. Because there's a game called Snakes and Foxes, which pertains to creatures inside of these doorways that give these answers. And you start the game with just this fun little sing-song kind of thing, and talks about iron and fire and music, and it's a whole thing. But apparently, nobody really connects that this is a thing until way later, because our good old Matrim Cawthon is going to take a stumble into this doorway, and then he's going to go stumble into another doorway, and he learns lots of important things, but he also actively disregards any of the rules, including how many questions can you ask, what can you and can't you bring. He asks some frivolous, stupid questions in their minds, and he pays for it.
Prices.
Yeah, they do give him true answers, but nothing's simple. Nothing's easy. He quite literally basically dies after the second one.
But without his idiotic behavior...
Without the idiotic behavior, we wouldn't get Matt as he is. We wouldn't learn bits and pieces. We wouldn't gain some fantastical items, including a fox head medallion and a Ashendari, which is just cool. And
we wouldn't survive Tarman Gaiden.
Moraine later. Like, Matt is a fool throughout a lot of these interactions, and yet his dumb luck means
sees him through.
It's what's needed.
True enough. All right, my full spoil. I'm going back to Moraine's husband.
I thought you might.
Oh, yeah. All right. We know that Moraine has a source, Min, who can read on people and can tell things that she knows will happen. She knows they're true.
Yep.
And we know that Moraine, back in the Isle World, had some closeted time with Min, talking to her, pumping her for information on the people she was traveling with.
Mm-hmm.
Moraine's future husband was one of those people. So at that point, and it never is said explicitly, but you can put the pieces together that it's at that point in that conversation Moraine first hears she's going to marry Tom. Tom Maryland will be her husband one day. How? Doesn't necessarily know, but she knows who she's going to marry.
And I've heard people give possible options of going, maybe she learned that from Min, maybe she learned that in the Twisted Archway later on or something, or in Ruidian. And I go, no, we know here before any of those later things, she knows this.
That's right.
To me,
That's right.
it's got to be Min.
It's the only way this comment makes sense.
And it makes so much other things like going, yeah, he's not dead. When Rand and Matt are telling her Tom's dead, she doesn't believe it for a second because she knows she hasn't married him yet.
That's right. That's right. So it had to be that particular time. There's no other time where some of these other comments she makes make sense. So that's it.
It is a hidden in-world plot armor that works so well because Tom Marilyn, for the moment, is all but immortal. He can get very hurt. He can't die yet.
And I love that one of our listeners, Emmeline, first-time reader, hasn't got far enough to know what's going to happen on this one yet. So we can talk about those things during the episode, hint, hint, and it's just a hint for her. She doesn't know where we're going yet.
Brendan, who was on here for the Witcher episode, recently finished The Shadow Rising. And he was talking with me. There's a moment near the end of the book. Tom gets hit in the head, and he was going, no, is Tom dead? Is this when he dies? And I'm just sitting there privately going, he can't die yet. He hasn't married Moraine.
That's it. All right. Well, good episode, Zach. That was fun. Fun talking to you. We are coming back a little later for another episode. So we'll bring this to a conclusion now so we can take a little break. Thank you for all of you who were listening, being part of this. Thank you, Discord, for being part of our gathering here again today. And until the next time you're with us on an episode, we'll talk to you next time.